And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we want to welcome you all to the amazing Wisdom Wednesday. Today, we're going to be having an amazing conversation on crypto versus cash, the battle of the future of utilizing fintech. And we're going to be having a great conversation today on not financial literacy advice, not telling you to go buy this, not telling you to do this. This is literally just showcasing the facts and stats about crypto, especially when we talk about crypto versus cash. And I was just sharing with Tara, it's amazing how people want to make money, but nobody wants to learn about money. And that's where we continue to remind people financial literacy is caught, not taught. We all of a sudden want to make all this money, but we don't know the rules to the game, but we act like we know the rules to the game. And this is exactly why we're having this conversation today, one day before July 4th. Hopefully you guys all are getting ready for the big parade or whatever you're doing, and be safe tomorrow as well from the Hello LLC. And you already know that Tara is going to take over this amazing conversation because this is her level or her size of expertise. When we talk about this crypto, when we talk about this fintech, when we talk about, all these things, Tara is definitely going to be the one to showcase and share with you guys all these amazing things. And so with that being said, we also want you guys to come and join us on Friday, right? The day after 4th of July at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to our brand new season 3 Getting Naked podcast. Stop being hard-headed. Don't be a blockhead. We're going to be talking about relationships. We're going to be talking about business. We're just going to be talking about overall mentality of how we are all so hard-headed and really being a blockhead, especially when we talk about all these things. And so that's what we want you guys to come and join us. You can join us live in Metaverse from your cell phone, from your laptop, and you literally can be a part of our podcast as well. Where a lot of podcasts, they already have them done. You just go and listen to. Our podcast is an interactive podcast where we want to hear your thoughts. Where it's going to be vulgar language. It's going to be adult language, should I say. You be cursing out your kids. You be cursing out your significant other. We just going to, curse out loud to one another. So it ain't going to be no difference. Just bring your spirit, bring your energy, and bring a whole bunch of raw, funny, authentic. You don't give a fuck at the end of the day. So come and join us for our Getting Naked podcast this Friday at 8 p.m. But without further ado, let's continue this party rocking and rolling. Tara Love.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
What you got to share today? Talk to us.
Well, hello, beautiful people. It is a beautiful Wednesday wherever you are. Happy to have you here. Happy to be here with you as well. Wishing you a very happy 4th of July. As we celebrate, the freedoms that we get to have, which is having conversations like this. And so we wish you a very happy one, a very safe one. And if you are in the stream or in the line of Hurricane Beryl, I think is how you pronounce it, which I know it's going over Jamaica right now. It's going to end up hitting the bottom of Texas and looping up around the Gulf there. So we wish everybody safe keepings on that, because we have lived in hurricane country for 20 plus years of our lives. So we definitely understand category 4s. And this one is currently a category 5. And so we just wish everybody out there safekeeping during that storm.
And you said they added a category 6 to
this year, the NOAA has added a Cat 6, so category 6. So, let's get more intensified, Yahoo, not. But that's a whole nother conversation. We'll park that there. Today, we're talking about cryptocurrency again. So we're going to talk about everything within the fintech realm. If it says cryptocurrency, it's just not about cryptocurrency. We're going to talk about fintech, blockchain, NFTs, smart contracts, tokenization, cryptocurrency. All of those are, they all are a part of the same cake. It could be called the fintech cake. And, when you're making a cake, you have to have multiple ingredients. You got to have flour, you got to have eggs, you got to have sugar, you got to have butter, you got to have vanilla if you're making a vanilla cake. If you're making it flavored, you got to have the flavor. So there's a whole bunch of different ingredients that are needed in baking certain baked goods, and cryptocurrency is a good way to look at that. And it just gets a little more intricate. And so today's conversation is the battle for the future of money utilizing fintech technology. Now, guys, this conversation is going to be about strategy. It's going to be about the lay of the land of what our current financial system looks like, where our financial system is going, why it's going to impact you, why you need to know about this, and how you can best prepare yourself for, the financial switch that is coming. And I will share this. Just like I was just talking about the hurricane at the beginning of the year for the first, because hurricane season doesn't start until June. It really doesn't get started, meaning you don't really see hurricanes through Texas until about late August or September timeframe. They were actually just making a conversation about that. Tara, why are we back on the hurricanes? Well, because the same way that we get ready for a hurricane, or maybe there's a big storm rolling into your area, maybe you live in Tornado Alley and you have to make sure that your bunker is set, it's refreshed, it has all of the snacks and goodies and supplies and everything that you need down there to live in your bunker for however long that's going to be, a day, 2 days, maybe a couple of days, depending on what that storm looks like. There's preparation is my point. Same thing for anything. If there's flooding going on, there's preparation that happens. And so when these events happen, there is a step of preparation that can be done to make sure that for instance, you might not decide to stick around to see a Category 5 or Category 6 hurricane. That's pretty intense. You might, get the heck out of Dodge. If you do get the heck out of Dodge, then you're probably going to board up your house. You're probably going to put everything inside. If there's flooding capabilities and you live in floodland, you're probably going to move everything upstairs if you can, get it higher elevated or set it up on. You're going to do the preparation to take care of your house and yourself and any animals that you are responsible for. And that preparation is where the opportunity exists. And so today's conversation about this is really to lay out the land so you understand where the financial where we're going in our financial shift that is happening currently, and how cryptocurrency, blockchain, tokenization, how the fintech portion of this puzzle plays a part, and how each individual things break down. So that's the goal of it. It is not financial advice. We do not give financial advice in here. Hey, Miss Cleo, welcome on in. Hey, Miss Renee, good to have you as well, my love. But and everybody out on Spaces, we greatly appreciate you guys jumping in and watching this conversation, or listening into this conversation. So the goal of our conversation is to give you guys, like they say, the infographics, the demographics, the information behind it, so that way you can then strategize your investment strategies, or you can strategize how you want to, take the advantage of the opportunities coming down the pipeline. So we all know Web3 is here. Web3 is something that we're currently utilizing, but a lot of people don't realize they use it on a day-to-day basis. And what does that look like? Well, Web3 consists of the AI side, the virtual reality side, which is metaverse and augmented reality sides. It also involves the fintech, which is the financial technology side. So that, and the fintech that encapsulates blockchain, cryptocurrency, tokenization, NFTs, anything within the financial realm. And then, there's robotics that's coming in that is a part of Web3. I know David was sharing yesterday that there's a robot that's going to be available later this year for $16,000. And he's like, you can get it to twerk and work. And I was like, wow, if you're buying a robot to twerk for you, that's kind of cool. But anyways, we digress. And so point being is we are all things Web3. We really help people understand how to go. We're going from Web2, which is where we currently are with the social media platforms that we have, which is how we do our online banking now. Everything is an app. How many of you prefer an application over a website? There's a difference, if you order your groceries, do you from Walmart, do you like going to the website and ordering your groceries through the website, or do you like going out to the Walmart app and ordering your groceries through that? And there's preferences. And so today's conversation is to understand the lay of the land and how you guys can best set your foot forward and understanding crypto versus cash. We did a conversation last week about cryptocurrency and is cash dead within the next 3 years? Like, is it going to be phased out? And the answer is yes. You guys are already seeing it. I don't have to be the one that tells you this. You guys you can go into a grocery store. You can go into a restaurant. You can go into any sort of public spacing with a storefront, physical storefront, and probably 7 to 8 times out of 10 on their door or up by the cash register, they have some sort of like exact change only or small bills only, or this is a cashless restaurant or a cashless entity and we accept credit cards only or debit cards only. You're starting to see where people are making that transition. Why are they making that transition? Well, it's mainly because it really reduces their risk. And so if you're a restaurant, and I shared this last week, if you're a restaurant and you used to be a person that was always, or a restaurant or an entity business that was always accepting cash, you had to carry cash. You had to make sure the cash, collector came by, and that sounds funny. The cash collector came by and the securities, and they picked up that cash that you had, or you had to go to the bank every day after closing and make a deposit into the bank, right? So I
worked at the jewelry store and I had to do that all the time. And trust me, you
had to balance the register at the end of the day. You had to do the closeout on the register, and if you were accepting money, cash, then you had to make sure that what the receipt tally said, that you were supposed to have cash in the drawer, that it counted up to be that. I did too. I worked in a restaurant where I did closing every night, and so each waitress had to close out her till, which meant that in the beginning she was handed $100 in cash, and then anything over $100, outside of what then was captured, for payment for the food, was her tips. So it was, there was a cash out process. And then had to go to the bank the next morning. You'd have to put it in the safe and then go down the next morning, get the money, go to the bank as soon as the bank opened up. It was a long, drawn out process, right? And it adds risk. It adds risk for, mismanagement. It adds risk. The more people's hands that touch it mean that, means more maybe room for sticky fingers to show up. It engages your risk it opens up more risk to being robbed. Someone coming in and knowing you have a large stash of cash and saying, "Give me all your cash." You know what I mean? So having a cash, it reminds me of that TikTok Johnny Cash thing that they were doing, that meme. But anyways, the point being is a cash-based society really opened up a lot of risk to the end user who was managing it before they could get it over to the bank for safekeeping, or into their own bank vault or their own vault for safekeeping. And so understanding that we're already moving into a cashless society. And guys, look, I have seen people that are like just irate that we're in a cashless society. And I understand why. I do understand the point of view that they're coming from and saying, I'm, irate because you're taking away some of my constitutional rights. And as a business, you're required to be able to accept cash and this, that, and the other, unless it's in your terms and conditions otherwise. Like there's a lot of, because people, and I do not disagree with them, this is part of this conversation, is they're worried about maybe the control factor of when we turn into a cashless society, and then it goes through a centralized system. Well, right now it's a centralized system. That is not the goal for the future, but right now it's in a centralized system, and we move through that. Well, if that means centralized, that means somebody has the controls over our cash. And there's people out there that are like, no, absolutely not. I'm going to be able to have access to my cash, just like my access to my, freedom of speech, the freedom to bear arms, the freedom to be able to spend my cash where I want it. And so there is this transition has to be done let me say it this way. There's a transition that's happening. We're moving from cash to cashless. So we're going to be digital. We're already there. You go in and do the app, you can.
Some of y'all ain't got $20 on you now.
Exactly. So the point being is more of the older generations, they're kind of real into I want to have cash on hand. I don't want you to have any control over it, which brings me into the next portion of this conversation, which is everybody gets a little wonky about, oh no, into a bank, into a system. Someone has control over that system. If they don't like what I'm spending my money on, which some of us experience that now. Like we go out, we could have a shopping day. We could be going to get groceries. We could be going out to do a little bit of shopping, and you hit a certain spending limit, or you swipe your card too many times. The bank's already hitting you up and going, hey, are you doing all these transactions, or did your card get stolen? And so we already have that governance there that people are not thrilled about. And so that's the beauty of financial technology, fintech, is that there are companies out there that have created decentralized systems. So there's centralized systems, which is what we currently know are our SWIFT system, which is a cash, based system. Our SWIFT system is a centralized system through central banks, a lot of central in there, right? So that means that, the Bank of America's, the Wells Fargo's, the JP Morgan's, all of those central banks that have control over our money, in a sense, like it is our money. But how many times have you guys went in to pull out your money and they're like, why do you want to pull that money out? Why do you want that? Or if you go deposit $1,000 cash, they're like, where'd you get this money? Or I heard a lady the other day that she was booking a vacation for her friends, like there was a group of friends. And so 3 other moms needed to write a check for the same amount because they split the Airbnb down 4 ways. And she had the bank calling her going, why are you depositing 3 checks of the same amount? And it's that, excuse my French, but it's that shit right there that us as people do not like. It's like, that's my money. Don't ask me where I got it. If I'm depositing and put it into my bank, don't ask me those questions, right? Or if I want my money out, don't ask me what I'm doing with my money. That's my money. And so we have gotten to a point where centralized banking, which is the Federal Reserve, these large banks, the system that we're currently used to, have a lot of control and say over our money, even though we quote unquote have these terms and conditions and user rights, but they are governing that. And we as a people are like, F no, heck no, you're not going to govern this anymore. And we don't want you to govern it. We want to be able to govern ourselves because it's our money. And so that's where decentralization comes into play. And it really plays a part of where it puts the power back into our hands as the people instead of moving forward into a centralized system. Now, we are at the I say early cusp, we're right in the middle of it. But the reason why cryptocurrency for its actual part in this pie has not been absolutely like wild, and what I mean by that, hasn't gotten all these regulations of, yeah, let's use it, yes, and America's on it and everybody's on it. The reason why there's pushback is because the decentralized system is challenging the centralized system. And as David always shares with us, power does not want to relinquish power. So the centralized system of big banks, the Federal Reserve, all of that system, the SWIFT system, does not want to relinquish the power to the decentralized system because why? A, that makes them obsolete, and B, then they lose the control of having the ability to make money off of us. Now, we all know that all money in a bank is debt. So your money that you put into the bank is someone else's debt. What does that mean, Tara? That means that the money that you're putting into your bank account, that money is not sitting there in an account with your name on it, just waiting for you to use it. The moment that money comes in, which is why they love having direct deposit, so they know every 2 weeks you're going to get, $2,000, $3,000, $10,000 into your account. They like that because it allows them for planning purposes to reinvest your money. They're able to reinvest up to 90% of your money. And I believe that other 10% has actually been approved to where they can now reinvest all of your money. So that means, how does that mean that David's money in his bank is is my debt, or my money in my bank is David's debt. How does that work, Tara? Well, what happens is when that money goes in, you put, $5,000 into your bank account every month. They're guaranteed to know that that 5,000 is coming in. Now they know you're going to spend it. They know you're going to have it, but that's where the reserves, quote unquote, air quotes are up, where there are reserves set at the back to where you put in 5,000, but you only spent 4,000, and you quote unquote think you have $1,000 just sitting there. Well, that entire $5,000 that you originally invested or originally put into your bank account, they've reinvested. They've went out and they've reinvested it and into the markets, into the bonds, so that way they can turn around and then loan your money out. So once they make that money back, they don't even make that money back. They put it out into the investments. The money that they're making off the investments is they turn around and loan to us in mortgages, car loans, any type, personal loans, business loans. All of these loans, they turn around and give that money back out to those people that need loans. And now those people are paying on that loan, but that money that they used was your money. That is how my money that I put in my bank turns into someone else's debt. So there is, and we are, 130% when you look at the overall debt to debt ratio that the United States is in. It's at 130%, where we are over leveraged. I mean, since when? How many of you bought a home? And when you buy a house, they look at your debt to income ratio, and it can't be over, I think, 50%, maybe even 40%. They do not. If you're over your 40-50% ratio, they won't approve you unless you get more money in the door and have a consistent income of that money coming in the door. And so what that means is the United States, we are way over that. Our debt to ratio is 130%. So we have to understand that we are way in the hole. So being in that hole creates a deficit, as we all know. Now, I know everybody showed up and they're like, holy crap, this is giving me nightmare flashes back to micro and macro economics in high school. And yes, it is. And I'm sorry if I'm triggering your high school, economics class. I was not a fan of my economics class. I hated economics. I hated economics up until about between 5 to 7 years ago, when I really started getting interested in cryptocurrency. And at that point, it was just cryptocurrency. I didn't understand the financial playing field that is attached to cryptocurrency. And so, yes, the title today says Crypto versus Cash, the battle for future of money utilizing Fintech. That breaks down to, what is our future financial system? Because right now, the system that we're on is centralized, and it's known as the SWIFT system. And the SWIFT system currently moves 1.4 quadrillion. That's 4 quad, billion, trillion, quadrillion. They move
billion, trillion.
Oh, did I say trillion, billion? I'm sorry.
Missed the trillion.
My bad. Billion, trillion, then to quadrillion. So we have to go, we're going from 2 to 3 to 4. That's where we're at. So the deficit that we're in is in the trillions, but the amount of money we're moving around is in the quadrillions. Now, okay, Tara, that's fun. Why does that, why does that impact me? How does all of this impact me? Well, right now, let me ask you a question. Are you utilizing services like Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Stripe, Square, any of those cash services? Those are Web 2 to Web 3 services. Those are financial tech services. They have just attached it to your old system. And so that is where, at the end of the day, they're getting everybody used to, on the front end right now, of being able to tap and go. Most people don't carry their credit cards with them anymore because their phone has it in there. Most people don't have money on them, cash on them, because they're just a tap and go, or I'll Venmo it to you. I mean, heck, some of us even have it memorized that we could walk into a store and have them punch in our credit card number, right? And so we are already moving to a digital-based society.
No, that's just you. You are the only one that can do that.
Gotcha. Well, there's a few people out there. I guess I'm one of them. My point being is that we're moving from a very analog society to a very digital society. And the digital society is going to allow us to be able to be more, I don't want to say free, but we're going to be able to have more freedoms of not having to carry around all this cash, not having to worry that we're a risk, someone's going to rob us, all of this stuff, right? And we're already utilizing it. So pause there. I want to welcome everybody in. I greatly appreciate you all here. You're more than welcome to jump up on the stage, ask any questions, be a part of this conversation. If you don't want to or can't, because you're in listening mode only, you can drop the questions in the chat channel, DM, or onto the actual wherever you're listening into the comment section, and we will absolutely answer your question for sure. If we don't know the answer, we will tell you we don't know the answer, right? Again, this is not a conversation about, hey, Tara, what should I be investing in? We do not give investment advice. We do not give any sort of financial advice. This is all for you guys just to understand and knowledge that you might or may not want to utilize in the future under your strategic planning. And so what I can share with you is how we're doing things and from what our standpoint is and how we move forward. And so that way you have an example of what is being done. But, for safety purposes, we want to make sure that we're not, sharing financial advice because, again, we are not certified to be financial advisors. So there you go. That's my spiel. So let's jump back in this. If nobody wants to, jump in here and share at the moment, I love it. But this whole conversation today is to be able to break down what the crypto versus the cash element. And last week we had a really great conversation about this, and I'm going to kind of recap that today because it really makes, once you start to understand what's going on the entire financial system, and when I say entire financial system, I'm talking about the BlackRocks, the Vanguards, the JP Morgans, the Bank of Americas. I'm talking about that whole entire centralized system that we use today, that we know of today, and how that's changing and how it's changing on the backside as we speak, but they're not talking about it on the front side because then it would create opportunity for people to gain financial freedom, and that's not their game. They want to maintain control over the finances so they can maintain control over you. And as we understand, the new system of decentralization is going to break that free. So if anybody remembers, and if you're a baby boomer or an older generational X person, you will absolutely remember this. I talk to my mom all the time. She's a baby boomer in her early 70s. And, this is something that she was learning and dealing with as in her late teens and in her 20s. But when Nixon was in office, Nixon took the United States off of the gold standard. If anybody understands what the gold standard is, that meant that at that point, any fiat money that was printed, so any dollar or $10, $20, $50 or $100 bill, there was a piece of gold or an equation of gold that was that backed that. So it was equivalent to it. So if I gave you a $20 bill, that meant $20 worth of gold was in the Federal Reserve in safekeeping that backed that. Well, when Nixon came in the office, there was a period of time there that we were, and I say period of time because that was how it was presented to the general public, is that we're going to remove ourselves from the gold standard for a period of time, and then we'll go back to it. Well, that was a lie because, as you all know, we are still not back on a gold standard, and it has been 50 years. Now, why do I know it's been 50 years? Well, that is because of the petrodollar agreement. So when we were removed from the gold standard backing from Nixon, there was less than a year, I believe it was right around 8 to 10 months, that after we were removed off that standard, that there was an agreement that we entered into with Saudi Arabia and other entities in the Middle East that allowed us to be able to back our dollar to petrochemicals. Why? Well, this is how this agreement worked. Saudi Arabia and other Middle East countries that are in that agreement, main one was Saudi Arabia. They were the largest producers of oil at that point, and I believe they still are to this day. And so in that realm, that is a resource. Oil was just like, how many of you guys remember the bubbling crude, the black gold from the, oh man, the Hillbillies? What was the Beverly Hillbillies? They're in their song, their intro song. Now I'm dating myself for sure. So the Beverly Hillbillies, they talked about that bubbling oil that came out of the ground, and that, they called it black gold. Well, that is because we, as America, went off of the gold standard. We then moved over to the petrol standard. And so we went to Saudi Arabia and said, hey, Saudi Arabia, if you will trade your gold, your petro oil to other countries or us in the US dollar. So anytime you trade that oil, it's only on the US dollar that you trade it. Like, okay, so, country ABC wants to buy some oil from Saudi Arabia. Well, they can only do that through the US dollar, even though their currency is not the US dollar. That was the way that we then entered into an agreement. In return, we gave Saudi Arabia protection, military protection. And so for 50 years, that agreement was 50 years, within its time frame that's how long they made it valid for, was a 50-year contract. That's what I'm trying to get out. I'm stumbling over my words here today. That 50-year contract actually came up and expired June 9th of 2024. So essentially June 9th, 1974, we entered the agreement, and in June 9th, 2024 was the last day of that agreement, meaning June 10th, we are no longer on the petrochemical standard, right? Our dollar is no longer backed by petrochemical. So what does that mean, Tara? Oh my gosh, the sky's falling, the dollar's going to crash. Well, no, it's not, but it will at some point if there's not changes that are made behind the scenes. So we moved from a gold standard to a petro standard. That's why we were called a petrodollar for so long. And in that, we then exchange that's what made the dollar a world reserve. That is why when you go look at a tier 1 asset, you see the US dollar and gold. That's it. Because that we were the equivalent of gold by having that fiat dollar tied to petrochemicals. But as of June 10th this year, we're no longer on that standard. So that means our dollar really is not backed by anything at the moment, which is why they're able to print as much as they want and have been printing as much as they want, and why we're nearly $35 trillion in debt because of that printing machine, right? So as many people know, that's unsustainable. We're not going to maintain or sustain that ability just to print money out of thin air, go to wars or do these things and be able to continue to do this without causing ourselves damage. Now, especially that we're no longer on the gold standard or the petro standard or petrochemical standard. So what does that mean for the future? Well, that means we're going to have to change financial systems. That means there's going to be an upgrade. Right now, for us, it all looks very digital from the user side. We're able to go, tap and pay. We're able to go and do all of these things, send somebody $100 Cash App, and it's there instantly. That's digital, and that's the user side that we all understand right now is instant. But that's not how the backside of this system still works. The backside of this system is very analog. It is very, hey, IOUs on Monday morning. If it's not a holiday, Bank A is sending Bank B an IOU that's your users and your clients that have, you bank through you, spent $1 billion over the weekend, and you need to send us and settle up on that. That is how the old system behind the scenes is working still. It's very facts-based. It's very analog and it's very slow. It takes 3 to 5 business days. As all of you know, if you go out and purchase something on the weekend, it's going to show a pending transaction probably until Tuesday, because it takes 3 to 5 days for those transactions to settle on your banking account. Now, doesn't mean that there's not a pending. That's, again, these are evolutions that we have done over time that now we see pending. It takes the money right out. So yeah, the available balances, I only got $100 because I have $900 pending in transactions over the weekend. So I know that I really only have $100 to spend, even though I have $1,000 with $900 pending to pull from it. That's the old system. That's the SWIFT system. That is the system that's going to be upgraded. Now, I shared this last week. Oh my God, Tara, we're no longer tied to the petrodollar. We're no longer tied to gold. That means we're going to turn into one of these countries like Venezuela or somebody else that, their currency is, they're making, art or bread baskets out of their currency because it's worth nothing, Eventually, if we stayed the course, yes, we would be there eventually. That's not going to happen overnight. The reason being is because the US dollar was a tier 1 asset. It still is classified as a tier 1, but the reason I say was is because we're no longer backed by anything. And because of that asset, that made us a world currency. That means the entire world is still tied. Their system is tied in to the US dollar. So we're not going to crash overnight. We're not going to, it's going to be a systematic, long, drawn out thing as people stop utilizing the dollar over time. And that's when you would start to see it. But like David shared earlier, power does not like to give up power. What do you mean by that, Tara? Well, that means that the SWIFT system, the Federal Reserve, the big banks, they're not going to relinquish and say, oh, you guys created a new system that doesn't use us. Go ahead. Go use that. We'll just go out of business. No, that's not what's going to happen. What's happening right now on the backside while we speak, because they're not covering this in the mainstream media. So the MSM, the mainstream media is not covering any of this. They're over there talking about the debate from last week. They're over there talking about geopolitical issues that are going on around the world. They're talking about anything and everything that are distractions to get us to not pay attention to what's going on. Because most people know we're not sustainable at nearly $35 trillion in debt and just printing money off the printing press. That's not going to work. And so they know that they have to make a switch/upgrade behind the scenes that will allow them to maintain control. And this is where the opportunity presents itself. I want to be very clear. This is not financial advice, but we talk strategy and we talk about how things are laid out and where you can find strategy and opportunity that doesn't only just serve you, but it serves everyone for the greater good, right? So when we talk about this opportunity that's presenting itself, what opportunity are you talking about, Tara? Well, anytime there's a change, anytime there's a move from point A to point B, there means that there's gaps in the system that the small people like you and I can be a part of. But they don't announce this. They don't make it mainstream media live. They don't say, hey, we're changing from the SWIFT system over to, new financial tech systems that are going to be instant and cheap. They're not telling you that, because if they did, everybody would be like, well, what system is it? And by the way, that system's already been in place and figured out, created and implemented, and the finalizations of the implementation is being done. And that's when it's all of a sudden there's going to be a quote unquote black swan event or a gray swan event where something happens. All of a sudden, Friday night, the banks, we just had a little one the other day. I say the other day, this was a couple months ago, where a couple of the banks, they weren't registering any of the deposits. People's deposits were going in, and they're on a Friday, and they didn't get them registered until Monday or Tuesday. Some of them on Wednesday, almost 5 to 7 days later down the pipe. And so it's going to be something like that all of a sudden there's going to be, okay, we're ready, and they're going to turn on the switch, the proverbial switch behind the scenes, and we're going to be all moved over to the new system. Now, guess what? You're not, as a standard civilian that is not plugged into this, you're not going to recognize when we do that. Why? Because they already have you using what looks like the new system on the front side, using these PayPals, these Cash Apps, these Venmos, these instant payments, the tap and go and pay at the restaurant with just a tap and go, or order online and pay with your credit card online. It's all of, they've already got the front end of this system set up, and you're using it. So when they make the switch, you'll never know that they changed the back end. Now, Tara, where does that create any opportunity for me? Well, the opportunity lies when you start looking at what investments you want to be a part of. So let's back this up to things that we understand. How many of us remember early to late 90s, early 2000s, when Google, Microsoft, Facebook, all of these large entities that we know today were coming down, AOL, they were all coming down the pipeline, and they were these large internet companies that people in the news were saying, oh, they're not going to last. It's not going to, it's a fad. It's going, they're losing millions of users. Well, here we are 30 years later, we're still utilizing the internet. And so it's not a fad. It is what actually happened. And the people that were in tune to the switch that was going on, I was too young. I did not understand, nor did I care to understand at this time of my life. So when that switch happened, you could have been introduced to a company like Microsoft while they were still kind of a baby company in a garage, or maybe just moved out of their garage, and they're not public yet, a public traded company yet, and you bought in 100 shares for $5, or you bought 1,000 shares for $10. That cheap investment that everybody was saying, it ain't going to work, it ain't going to go anywhere. But yet when we got there, here we are 20, 25, 30 years later, and those people that made those investments are well off.
Just like people had the conversation, about Bitcoin, and about Bitcoin wasn't going to be anything. And a lot of us were part of those conversations or heard about those conversations. And now Bitcoin is hovering around 60, 65 plus. And so this is where
it's actually 60 right now.
Okay, so it's 60, right? So this is something where people have to be able to understand that once then was just chitter chatter, is now the main focus, especially now when ETFs and things of that sort are being, or Bitcoin is being an ETF, which means your BlackRocks, your JP Morgan, all of your financial advisors are now given the green light to, hey, go ahead and start introducing Bitcoin, to investors. And here we are 5, 10, 3 years ago, a year ago, wouldn't touch it. Now it's here.
Well, and that goes on to a great point I just heard this morning. I was listening to an investment advisor who does work in traditional finance, so stocks and bonds and traditional finance, as well as new financial technology, which is cryptocurrencies, companies that are creating blockchains, cryptocurrencies, ledgers, things like that are able to support the new system. And what he was saying was he's gained a lot of clients because of the simple fact that old traditional advisors, like you were talking about, they would come and say, hey, I heard my nephew or my niece was telling me about this Bitcoin. What's this Bitcoin thing? And because they were traditional and they were not open, or they didn't have the regulations to do so and had no way to talk about it, they would literally tell them, hey, I'm not going to be able to represent you in your financial investments here if you continue to want to talk about cryptocurrency. I'm going to have to drop you as a client. And this guy said he's gained a lot of clients because when people have done that to him, he's like, oh, they went, peace. I know I want to be in cryptocurrency. I know I want to be in blockchain. I know I want to be in the financial tech realm of investments. And if you can't help me, I'll go find someone who can. And that's what's happening, is that people are they're starting to get aware of it. Like David said, when BlackRock, Vanguard, all of these, Fidelities, all these large institutions now have the green light to be able to carry a Bitcoin ETF, that means that they now have the ability to proposition you, to share with you, to give value, to say, hey, do you want to be a part of it? And traditional investment advisors do not. I was just having this conversation with my mom, 72 years old, and she's 73 years old, and she's having the conversation around the fact that her investment team, they don't invest into cryptocurrencies or anything. And I said, of course they don't, because it's a traditional way. B, it's because at the end of the day, they don't have regulations around it as the United States as a whole. And so a lot of financial companies are not touching it, especially the little ones are not touching anything unless the SEC or the United States government has approved it. The only thing that the SEC has allowed people to do is have a Bitcoin ETF, so that way the large entities can be a part, and then now you can be a part of it. And I told my mom this, and I'm telling you all this. If you are a traditional investor and you are like your investment advisor has hit you up, or you've asked about Bitcoin ETFs and how you can be a part of the Bitcoin ETF through them, I'm going to tell you this right now. Don't do it. Oh my God, Tara, but why? Here's why. Why would I go pay somebody else the ability for them to cook me a steak, and I pay a high premium charge for that steak, when I have the whole cow in my freezer with the private chef at home who can cook me 500 steaks like I want, or any of that cow however I want? Why would you buy a portion and a piece that is controlled by someone else when you have the ability to go buy the entire asset yourself, where now you are in control? And that right there, my friends, is the secret. Mr. Jones.
Yeah. And so, hey guys, we want to welcome you all to the Hello LLC. If you guys don't know, we are broadcasting on every single channel that you can possibly think about, maybe even at your mama's TVs that's on the floor and you got to do the dial up. We are on YouTube. We are on Instagram. We are on X. We are on LinkedIn. We are on audio LinkedIn. We are on actual Clubhouse, and we're on Fanbase. Earlier, we were actually on the brand new Chatter that you guys are going to be hearing about here pretty soon. That is absolutely amazing, where we can do everything that we're doing now and be able to share the metaverse up at the top, where that is where we really want you guys to come and visit us in our metaverse Hello Plaza that you can join from your cell phone, your laptop, your VR headset. Those of you that are watching us here live right now on all of our live channels, you're seeing us in our Hello Plaza, where literally earlier today we were on Zoom with one of our Pivot members, and the Zoom screen that I was trying to share kept cutting in and out. I kept having to going back and resharing it because Zoom was having some glitch, as it always seemed to when I go to share my screen. And in Metaverse, I don't have those problems. I literally can be able to share our screen in a completely different way, which is what we share with you guys all. It's time to make the pivot into utilizing this newer technology that Tara and I continuously talk about, which is why today we're having this conversation of crypto versus cash, where you guys can start learning about these things that you need to implement into your business. So although your ass might not be interested in crypto, there are an abundance amount of other people that are interested in crypto and that are purchasing crypto, and they're going to be coming to you as a business owner and say, hey, I got all this Bitcoin, I got all this ETH, I got all of this. Can we exchange services that way? And you're going to be like, nah, I only take cash. And so then it's going to be a world of trouble, especially understanding that the average age of the world right now is 30 years old. So that putting, money in the bank, putting it up underneath your mattress, the old school ways that I know I was taught, which is why we're sharing this information with you guys. Financial literacy is caught, not taught. And this is where we encourage you guys to be able to invest into the future, to have your money work for you, other than have the banks take it from you and them do what they want to do, which is what they've been doing, which is why this crypto is so important for you guys to understand. So no, We're not telling you what crypto to buy. No, we're not asking you to join us on any crypto investments or anything of that shit. This is literally us just breaking this down.
No, we don't have an affiliate link to go buy anything.
The only affiliate link we got is join our Pivot membership that you can join for $7 a month, that Tara has facilitated all this information in there for you to learn additional information for you to make that choice. And if you do want some, conversations with us, we have our upper echelon Pivot membership that, look, this is not just about, crypto. This is where we help you with your social media. This is where we help you with your systems. This is where we help you with implementing, monetizing your business and upping your actual systems that you currently have now and giving you some new ideas. And we can show you, we can teach you, or we can do it for you. It's completely up to you. Leonard, brother, I see that you have joined us, man, on Fanbase, man. Good to see you. Good to be here. Did you have anything you want to add in? I know you had unmuted yourself. Did you have anything you want to add?
No, just listening, bro. I got some commuting time I got to do. Every time I pop in your room, you guys share some game, and just here to see what else I can enrich myself with. How you been?
Been good, man. Been good. Good to hear from you. Glad to have you in here. But where you driving to?
I just left my store on my way home. I got a gas station up in Maryland, racking up on product and liquor for the weekend. Got to keep stock so I can make that money.
You know it. Send me a bottle of Crown down here to Mexico.
It's cheaper in the States than it is here. It's definitely cheaper in the States than it is here. Crown, that is.
Yeah, they treat their alcohol down here like it's like gold.
I need to build a metaverse for my store so people come in and buy Crown,
There you go.
Facts. You absolutely should.
Yeah.
So that way you can actually have it connected to Uber Eats, to where now when they order it on Metaverse, that it can just get delivered from Uber Eats.
Uber Eats, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
We definitely can talk about that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for jumping in here and scooping some game. That's what we are throwing out some game today. So we are here for anybody to scoop it up. So thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for listening in. Awesome.
You're welcome.
With that being said, guys, look, if you guys have any questions, Nova, Miss Maxine, hopefully I said that right. Over here, Maximilian, if you have any questions, I'm going to add you back as well. Thank you for being in here. And then, I don't want to butcher that name. I don't want to butcher that name.
Japonka?
Yeah, welcome into the room. And Nova, welcome as well. If you guys want to come up, raise your hand.
I know I butchered that. I am so sorry.
And join us as well. Yeah, come up here and tell us if that's the right name.
Absolutely, definitely.
But, for those people that are unfamiliar with this, right? Because I know you went into a whole bunch of information. Right?
I usually do.
You do, right? And so if you could share with the people, that weren't here last week, why we came up with this crypto versus the cash, when you shared about Saudi Arabia and how the petrodollar isn't going to be used anymore for oil. If you could talk about that in a short minute.
Did you want me to recap that, since I already talked about that? I've already recapped all that.
I heard you talk about it, but did you go into why the cash is? Okay, yep. Perfect. The next thing is did you talk about the Bitcoin ETF?
Yep.
Okay. All right. The next thing is did you go down the basics of what crypto and
that's where we're headed. Yes.
Perfect.
So I love it. Thank you. So the point of this conversation is to show you guys where there is opportunity, you as a personal individual or as a business, to take advantage of this change. So when the change is happening through the back end of this, again, the front end, you're never going to see it from a user as, just you and I as citizens going out to buy groceries. We are already implemented into the digital side, and they did that on purpose because the less change that people experience, the more calm it is. People don't lose their shit. And when we're talking about money, at the end of the day, people don't want nobody messing with their money. And me included. So what's happening is that they're moving us from an analog system to a very, very digital, high-tech technology, Fintech is what they call it, financial technology system that is quicker, faster, cheaper. And quicker, faster is the same analogy there. So there you go. But it's going to be faster and cheaper. Right now, the old system to be kind of slow, especially if you own a business, you got to wait 3 to 5 days for transactions to actually post. Even as an individual, if you have a transaction that's on your account and you're religious about going and checking your account and you see some like $100 transaction, you're like, what is that? And you recognize that's not my transaction. I did not authorize that, nor did I do that. And you need to, claim, call the bank to claim that transaction as possibly fraudulent or something. They tell you have to wait till it posts. Yeah. And that can be 3 to 5 days because that's the SWIFT system.
Hold on, no players. You got my money and somebody else got my money. I got to wait 3 to 5 days.
Exactly.
It's 4th of July. I need that money for my crown.
Exactly. So what's going to happen is the new system will be instant. So a moment that something is taken, it will show up instant and it's cheap. I was listening to a conversation the other day of a gentleman who owned an investment capital firm, and he was moving some investments around for a client, and it was a total of $52 million that he needed to move. And as he was moving the $52 million around, he stated they utilized the new financial tech systems that are available, which is i.e. cryptocurrencies. And no, it was not Bitcoin, but he was able to use some, financial technology systems that are cryptocurrencies. He was able to make one transaction of $52 million from point A to point B. It took him less than 20 seconds. And it cost him, not less than 20 seconds, less than 3 seconds, and it cost him less than 20 cents. So 3 seconds, 20 cents for a fee to move 52 million, million dollars. That's pretty darn good. If you utilize the existing system of SWIFT, it would take 3 to 5 days to move that. And it would actually take longer because of the large amount of money that you are moving. It would take over 7 days to move that. And it would cost thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on how many times and how many transactions they had to break it into. So one transaction, 52 million, less than 20 cents, less than 3 seconds it took him. So that is the difference of what's happening. And the opportunity that is lying in front of us as individuals for investment purposes, as well as, for our investment strategies of what we want to do with our own portfolios, as well as a business, is 2 different types. From an individual standpoint, you want to be invested into those systems and those companies that are making the new financial system a thing. And so you have to go out there and find which cryptocurrencies are doing that. And that's where we're going to break into the different types. We're not going to talk about the 20,000 plus cryptocurrencies, but there's 3 different categories that we will speak about, and I'll share here in a second, that will help you understand how some of these cryptocurrencies are categorized. And so the other side of that, from a business point, is how can I accept cryptocurrencies for payment? Because that is what's so. And so it comes down to the simple fact of that when you do that, when you have the ability to make the investment strategies as your personal side, that's probably going to create you some generational wealth if you are taking advantage of those things now. Yes, now. And I don't mean, and I'm going to just say this is not financial advice, but it's not Bitcoin, and it's not Ethereum, and it's not any of these other companies that are, that you've heard about in mainstream, because the financial tech system that they're wanting to utilize is not spoke about in mainstream media. And I know that because I know which system is going to be utilized. Again, if you want to talk about that, you can absolutely jump into our Pivot membership, become a Pivot member, book a one-on-one with me, and I'll have this conversation with you one-on-one. But for that safety purposes and for legal purposes, I'm not going to sit here and say that because of the legality issues that arise with being not financial advisors, right? So
damn, they unlike any other crypto room. They be trying to sell us they shit and tell us what to invest in, and we got to do it now. Girl, you're not doing the thing?
No, because at the end of the day, I don't need people investing on and not that I don't need people investing on what I've invested on. Anybody can do that, but I don't need anybody buying a coin or, of some sort of, affiliate that we have, because of our investments being the new financial system will be that'll take its care of itself in the future.
When y'all see us in our yacht, all blacked out in our black helicopter, you know what happened.
Period. So we're trying to share this game ahead of time so other people can be aware of how and where to take advantage of this opportunity. Because I really wish there were people around that I could say, you know what? I'll pay $27 to book a 30-minute call with you and get on the phone with you to ask you, what are you doing? Show me what you're doing. I'll show you what I'm doing in a private call. Absolutely. So with that stated, the opportunity that is here, I can tell you where the opportunity is. You need, as individuals in your investment strategy portfolio or in your investment portfolios in a strategy, you need to invest into the companies and the technology that they're creating that is the new financial system. And no, it's not Bitcoin. No, it's not Ethereum. It's not these other ones, which let me pause for a second and say this. There's 3 different categorizations within cryptocurrencies. There is your meme coins, M-E-M-E. We all know what a meme is. A meme coin or token is an asset that only has the value that it has because the community that is around it believes that value is of whatever they say it is, right? And so that is a community thing, community type of a token. It is also and examples of meme coins would be Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, Pepe. There's a few. There's thousands of other ones, and they're not. Look, if that's what you guys want to dabble in, do what you want to do. Boo boo is what I say. I liken it to the slot machine when you walk right into the door of heck, when you land at the Las Vegas airport, the slot machines that you see the moment you get off the plane. Fortune
calling your damn name.
That is like
hit that max spin, baby.
That's like a meme coin because you might win $100,000, you might win $1,000, you might lose your money, or you never know what that's going to happen, and it could be. Like David could pull the Wheel of Fortune and he wins nothing. They take his $20 and I could put my $10 or $5 in and pull and I win $100 million. That is just how it works.
You
and that
$100 million.
Well, I know. My point being is it's volatile. And it is based off of what the community, I mean, a lot of people understand like Doge and that Elon Musk is tied around that. And when Elon talks about Doge, it goes up. And when he stops talking, it goes down, and all of this hype that we have, right? And so it isn't at the end of the day, understanding that, yes. And by the way, some of these coins, like the fact that someone wanted to point out in our channel is that Doge is not a meme. Some of these tokens and coins can have dual purposes. They can have utility tied to the fact that it's also meme. So they can have dual purposes of utility, or they can have store of value as well. But at the end of the day, it is categorized as a meme token. Now, we move on to the store of value. What is the store of value? Store of value is the same thing that you would utilize gold, silver right now. You have $1,000, you put it into your gold, you buy gold on it, and if the profits and the value of gold is going up, it fluctuates daily. The value of gold fluctuates on a daily basis. And so right now it could be $5,000 and tomorrow it could be back down to 1,000. Whatever that fluctuation, because of whatever's going on in the geopolitical scene, will allow it to be able to fluctuate in value. So it's a store of value. So examples of store of value is Bitcoin, That's a store of value. Ethereum is also a store of value. Again, Ethereum is also a utility token as well. So you have to understand that there's some of these have dual purposes. So the reason why Bitcoin is a store of value is because it's first to market. It's been the first one that showed up to market. That's why it's the number one cryptocurrency that everybody knows about. And it's also why it's the one that only has the only SEC EFT tied to it. Now, yes, they have approved an Ethereum one, but it is not out on market. They've got the green lights to do it, but they have not got it to market. So you can't purchase into an Ethereum ETF right now until BlackRock, Vanguard, Fidelity, any of these large, doesn't even have to be a large, any sort of investment firm wants to start carrying that asset. And so that is an example of a store of value and what a store of value is. David was talking about it earlier. Bitcoin is where, like 10 years ago, it was, sitting around $1,000, $1,500. And many people thought, I don't have $1,000. I don't have $1,500. I can't buy that. One thing we all have to understand is that when it comes to cryptocurrencies, you can do fractional buying. So I think most crypto exchanges, the minimum is $5 to $10 of a purchase. So that is the minimum that they require of you have to have $5 on a purchase or a $10 a minimum. All of them have different minimums. But the point being is you could buy $10 worth of Bitcoin at this point right now. You could buy $10 worth of anything right now because it's fractional buying. Mr. Jones?
Leonard, did you have something? I saw you came off mic. Did you have anything you want to add?
Yes, I got a silly question. What does this all have to do with the CBDC, central bank digital currency? How does that play into what you're talking about?
Well,
and it might be actually what you're talking about, but can you kind of break that down for me a little bit?
Yeah, I can drill into that a little bit. But yes, it absolutely is tied all together. And
can you first go over what the CBDC, because most people might not know what that is?
Yes. So anybody that didn't hear that, Leonard asked, what is and how is the CBD tied into it? What is it? How is it tied into it? How is it going to be a part of our life in the future? He didn't ask that, but that's exactly what I'm going to explain. So first, the CBDC is a central digital banking currency. So that means JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they will all have their coin, or they'll use the same one depending on how the regulations and how the system is set up to utilize it. There have been conversations where they're going to have their individual, like the JP Morgan coin and the Wells Fargo coin and the Bank of America coin. And then there's been other conversations that says that the Federal Reserve will be the CBDC, and they create that to where we all use a tethered coin, meaning that we have a coin that would be called the Federal Reserve or FedNow. And actually FedNow has this out right now. It was live last July. So a year ago of 2023, FedNow, NOW, came out, and that's actually the CBDC system that they're talking about wanting to utilize, and they will have a FedNow coin that will be tied back to fiat currency. And what's really happening behind the scenes, just because I'm going to give you guys the goose for being here and the goods for being here, is that many of you have heard of the BRICS, and this is all tied into the CBDC. So many of you have heard of BRICS nations, BRICS alliance, whatever you want to call it. BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. But there is an abundance of other countries that have already been approved to be a part of the BRICS. So like there's, I think, already up to 20 of them. And there's been applications of like 50 plus more countries that want to join the BRICS alliance. Now, what does that mean? And how is this tied into the CBDC that you were just asked about, Tara? Well, this means that the BRICS is not anti-America, as some people or maybe the mainstream wants to make it. BRICS is not anti-America, but what they are is they're tired of trading goods, i.e. the petrochemicals, the oil that they're trading around the world from maybe Saudi Arabia to Brazil. They're tired of having to do it in the United States dollar. And as I shared last week and at the beginning of this conversation, the Saudi Arabia petrodollar agreement is no longer, as of June 9th, 2024, that 50-year agreement has expired. And so we are no longer tied to that, meaning that Saudi Arabia can now trade their oil to anybody in the world at whatever currency they say. So if it's with Brazil, they can say, hey, let's do it in this. If it's with, whoever, we can do it in this. They no longer have to say, you want 100 barrels of oil? You have to send over this amount in United States dollars. No longer is that agreement. Now, how does that play into the central banking system? Well, the reason BRICS was created was because they no longer wanted to do trades on the United States dollar. They no longer wanted to be held hostage, that they had to do all their trades. And so anybody who's a part of this alliance or allegiance is now making trades of goods and services between these countries on whatever value or currency that they agree upon. Now, the way that that's going to move forward in the future is, as an alliance, they're all going to pick one currency that is going to be a cryptocurrency that allows cross-border payment to be that takes place for instantly and very cheaply. And that's part of the new financial system. Now, bringing it back in relationship to the CBDC and how that affects the CBDC is the Federal Reserve is going to ultimately be the CBDC system in the United States. And it is important to understand that at that point, they're going to be having, and as I was sharing earlier, this system's going to be changed when it comes down the pipeline, that they no longer, that the centralized system, the banks and the Federal Reserve have control over things. They're not going to relinquish to a decentralized system, which is cryptocurrency, to go run willy-nilly, because they want their governing controls. And that's where CBDCs come in, is that where the large centralized system can absolutely govern and control that. And everybody might be listening going, well, that's oxymoron. Like, why would we do that? Why would we want to be a part of a system of that? Well, between you and I and the fence post, Bubba, we don't. CBDCs are not going to be a good thing for the mass majority. It is going to be all about control. Some of us have heard about what they're doing over in Europe, where they have 15-minute cities where you can't go past 15 minutes outside of your circle. And maybe we've also heard about China and how China does this digital, the digital system, social system that they have, that if you speak out about anything anti-China, if you are not propagating the information they want you, and you're kind of the black sheep of the society, they can control your money. They can remove your money. They can get rid of your money. So it's not a system that everybody's really going to want. Now, here's the other, there's two sides of this, guys, and this is where opportunity shows up. And so I'm thankful that Leonard shared and asked this question, because it presents us with the opportunity. Most people are not going to want to be in a centralized digital system at the end of the day. They're not going to want people to control their money. Majority of people are not going to want that. 100%. You and I and all of everybody in here is like, F no, fuck no, we don't want that. Okay, great. So how do we get around that? That is where this conversation is so important, to understand where the SWIFT system is going to upgrade to in cryptocurrency, and what cryptocurrencies they're going to use, or crypto companies that have built blockchains, what they're going to use in the future to be able to say, I'm going to buy in on that company. I'm going to invest in that company. I'm going to invest in that cryptocurrency. So when all of a sudden this system, the switch is switched in the system, say that 10 times fast, you all of a sudden have overnight, and I will say, because when they make the switch, there's going to have to be values, certain dollar values of these cryptocurrencies that are going to change overnight. And it's not going to be like a store of value of Bitcoin that goes up because of the value of people putting in and the people, how much they're investing in and how much they're, cashing out. It's not going to be that. It's going to be over in the third area of this cryptocurrency, which is in the utility side. Most people know it as altcoins, ALT. It's also a lot of that is utility. Those can kind of be interchanged, right? You want to find out what the utility of every cryptocurrency is. And why I say that is because, like, for instance, a lot of people thought Bitcoin would be the new financial system that would be utilized in the CBDCs. No, it's not going to. And the reason why is because it's not fast enough. It costs way too much money to generate more and to mine, essentially. If we turned into a Bitcoin society where everything was ran on Bitcoin, it would literally take up all of the energy in the world to just mine Bitcoin. There would be no energy left over to have your lights on, to run your businesses, to keep your, refrigerator on. It is so non-green footprint. It does not have a very green footprint. And what most people don't realize is that some of the creators of Bitcoin have moved on and left Bitcoin and went and created other systems, tokens, and projects that have actually solved that issue.
So, Leonard, brother, hopefully that answered your question. Do you have anything else you want to ask or follow up with?
Yeah, she went a little further. I didn't know Bitcoin is pretty much obsolete. That's what it sounds like. Okay, so how do you tie that into the meta? Because at some point, and good on you about talking about China with the social credit score, nobody's going to want to kowtow to that sort of system. But if we allow the central bank and Fed now to have a snapshot of every transaction we make going through our bank accounts, at some point, we're going to be beholden to that. They're going to take their taxes out first. They're going to say, well, if your money has to move through a system, as cash starts to become obsolete, or we have to take electronic payments if we're working, they're gonna have access to our funds, and they might take out money. Right now, the tax rate's 40%, but it could be 50%, and there's nothing we're gonna be able to do about it if our employers allow them to do that. Say, hey, we're gonna pay you through this system. You want the job, you got to take the job. Well, if you want to eat, you're gonna have to go along with that system. But we need to start thinking about how do we operate outside that system, to where you might be one of the select few that get a pass. That because maybe your business is international or global, you could do transactions with other countries or through other currencies or within the BRICS, even though you're in the American system, where whatever that is with the Fed. So I'm just trying to think of disrupting and operating outside of that system for as long as you could, if not indefinitely. Can you kind of go in that direction?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great follow-up question, because you bring up another point, which is, again, I could talk about this for hours, but David's really good about okay, keep it short. Is that, first of all, you're 100% right. People do not want to curtail and have somebody controlling their money, taking taxes off of their money before, all of this stuff. I mean, we're already experiencing it if you work a traditional job right now, and somebody, your employer is paying you, and you got federal withholdings, you got Social Security withholdings, and you got all of this stuff, right? And how this, so there's that aspect. And then you have it where it ties back into the side where you were asking, which was metaverse. And so there's two aspects to that. So how this ties into metaverse is the simple fact that when we are in metaverse right now, you can go into metaverse and be able to go and hit a link, like in our metaverse, the Hello Plaza. You can go in, you can hit a link and literally go to our 2D website that allows you to do traditional cash outs in the old system way, the old Swift way, through a credit card, through Square, through Stripe, through something like that. But in the very near future, once we have regulations approved, you're going to start seeing where these metaverse entity or worlds they're directly tied into a cryptocurrency, and some of them already are. For instance, Sandbox and a couple other ones are tied into Ethereum, to where you can go in there and you want to buy a plot of land in Sandbox, and you click on it and it'll say this is 5 ETH, and you have to pay five Ethereum. And right now, Ethereum, fluctuates anywhere from $2,500 to $3,000 on a given day, wherever it's at within its valuation and fluctuation. And so it's going to come down to the point where all of these metaverses, as the regulations happen, and you might be like, well, there's no regulations. How are some of these people like Ethereum and Sandbox working together? Well, to be very frank, they're flying by the seat of their pants. They can do it. The SEC is absolutely aware of it. They're absolutely checking into it. But because it's not investments and it's not exchanges, they have a little harder time to be able to regulate it. And so I don't know, so eventually now you can, right now you can do in metaverse, you can check out like you regularly can. But in the very near future, cryptocurrencies will be a direct checkout. Mr. Jones?
And so, prime example, those of you that are watching us on our live feed right now, on Twitch, on X Spaces, on YouTube, you literally see me right now in Astonishing Pearls her actual storefront that's in the metaverse. And this is the great thing that we share with people. When people do join our Hello Plaza, storefront, you're not only getting your traffic, you're also getting other people's traffic, because we're all dropping into the central of the mall. Just like when you go park your car at the mall and you go in one section of the mall, there's the eye center, there's a jewelry store, there's the Disney store, there's this clothing store, there's all these stores, and everybody gets access to everybody coming in. So those of you that are watching us on here, you literally see me go into Astonishing Pearls storefront, and she has her mentor and coaching. And right here where it says discover more, I literally can click that from my cell phone, my laptop, my iPad, and boom, it takes me directly straight into her biz in a box, to where now she's able to showcase, her entire, website. And it leads people back from 2D to 3D, which this is something that we can share with you all and show you as we are right now, to where when people hear about the metaverse, they're like, well, can I sell my services? Can I sell my products? Yes. Just like Leonard was talking about earlier. Hey, I have my store. You could literally set up an actual storefront and have all the actual things that you want to have for sale. And if you have a delivery system now, if it's tied to, Uber Eats or anything of that sort, people could literally go into your metaverse storefront and purchase these things on a completely different level. And this is what we share with people. Nobody's going to be asking you about your website moving forward. People are going to be asking you, hey, what metaverse world are you in for me to go experience something different? Which, if you aren't paying attention, people like Walmart, people like Target, some people like Amazon, some people like it, some people don't, because there's a different experience. And that's why even now, when people come into our mall or come into our Hello Plaza, we have it to where you can earn points. And the longer you stay within our metaverse world, the more points you get that you can change out for our products and services. You can change out to join our Pivot membership. And so literally we've gamified our business to get that experience that people want by just having them show up. Just like we all hear, when you have the stores to have you sign up for their free membership, or you have these restaurants having you sign up for this, sign up for that, so they can give you free stuff. And more importantly, have you be a part of their community, which is something that we talked about yesterday. Talk less, do more, and build authentic ways to build a community. And this is one of those ways to do exactly that.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Jones. That's absolutely a great breakdown on the metaverse side of it. So appreciate that. I wanted to loop back to the other side of that question, which was the CBDCs. How do we kind of, don't get forced into having to be a part of CBDCs or the system? Well, I'm going to just tell you this right now. I'm going to rip the band. rip the Band-Aid off right now for y'all. There will be no way to avoid the CBDC system, because at the end of the day, there's the Goliath, which is the current financial system, the SWIFT system, the current Federal Reserve, and they are moving this direction. They want control. They're going to take control. Now, where can we get away from that? There is a silver lining. This is where, if people are tuning into conversations like this or other conversations, there are a community of people out there that are sharing about the new financial system, not as investment advice, but they're laying the land. We are not the only ones that are sharing this information so people can understand where they need to be to gain financial freedom. And so that is going to be the secret is for you to not be a part of the CBDC system moving forward. You're going to have your own financial independence. You're going to have to be your own bank. Okay, Tara, well,
we talked about this.
How do I do that? Well, right now, you do not need to have thousands of dollars to do it. Right now, you need to get rid of everything in your life that you're paying coffees and extra Netflix subscriptions, and you need to pare down and put that money into the utility side of cryptocurrency. And I'm going to give you guys this just because you're here. If you want to know where the new financial system not financial advice, might be going, check out the ISO 20022. Google ISO 20022. That is a family of cryptocurrencies. And if you get in there and start reading and start doing your research and your due diligence, you will understand how the new financial system, what will be used, who will be using it, who's going to control it, and how you can get in part of it and how you can invest into it. You do not have to be an accredited investor. You can be, because there's ability to invest in companies and there's ability to invest in cryptocurrency projects. So that's the game right there, guys. If you go do your own research on the ISO 20022, you go do research around that. You can come back and thank me in 5 years and go, thank you.
Or just join our pivot.
And I can show you. But because of that information, you might find yourself being really well off and not have to be a part of the new financial system, which is CBDCs. And so to drill down a little bit on that, because Leonard brought up some great points. He talked about, how are we not going to be forced? Well, 99.9% of the population will be forced because they're asleep, they're not paying attention, and they're watching the mainstream media talk about all of this other Sleepy Joe or all of these other things that they call. Joe. I mean, it's just the nonsense that goes on I don't watch it, but the nonsense that goes on in mainstream media is a televised play. It's a televised play. To be able to share here and tell you a vision that sits here and shares with you what they want you to be worried about, what they want you to be talking about, why they're making these changes on the backside. Now, there are entities that are talking about this on YouTube and things like that, like us. That's why we have our Pivot membership, because I've curated all this information into a nice little package that you can, for $7 a month, you don't even got to talk to us. You can go out, $7, get that information, watch that information through the videos that we have up and the infographics that we've put together so that you guys understand where we're going. The only way you're going to get around not being a part of the CBDC and universal paychecks is the fact that you will have your own money. You will become your own bank. When you own your own digital assets, which is cryptocurrencies, NFTs, anything within the digital asset realm there. If you own physical assets like gold and silver and copper and things like that, those are going to allow you to be your own bank, because at that point, you own the cow. You own the farm. You own everything. You're not the restaurant. You're not the steak. You're not going out to, what's a steak restaurant, Ruth Chris or something, and just buying a 50, 60, 70, 80, $100 steak because they've got it available and you're utilized. No. You can do that, but that's the central way. That's where they want you to go. And that's where 99% of the population will go, is because like they're doing, if you like, for those that watched BET Awards, we did not, but I believe Tarji P. Henson was out there sharing with everybody to go check out what Project 2025 is. It's already in process. We are already in the middle of it. If anybody paid attention last week of the watch here, the shiny object on one hand, why we do things over here, last week's shiny object why we did things over here was the presidential debate. That was the shiny object they wanted you to pay attention to. Just a second, Leonardo, I'll pass it back right to you in a second. And then when we came down over here, what they were doing behind the scenes was on Friday, the Supreme Court went ahead and overturned the Chevron ruling. Most of you don't know about that. What is the Chevron ruling? Well, essentially what that meant was all of these large government entities of like the EPA, the FDA, the SEC, all of these regulative entities of the federal government just got bypassed. We had those in place because if there was something that was going on with the environment, the EPA would step in and they would say, okay, Congress has passed this law, but it's our duty to decipher it. And then because of our expertise, go ahead and give directive and how you should move forward on this law. They have removed that. They overturned the Chevron ruling, which means now that the Congress makes the law and then the Supreme Court will be the end all be all. These EPA, FDA, all of that gone. SEC doesn't matter. They no longer have any say so. And so why I say that, why I bring that up is because we're going to have, they're moving, and that's why Tarji P. Henson talked about go research the Project 2025. It's in action. Last week's ruling was a part of that. They're stripping away our rights, which is why a lot of people think we're going to go into a SIVILWAR. I hope you picked up that I had to spell that out, because we're getting our rights transgressed upon. They're stepping over and starting to step on our constitutional rights. And so there's going to be no way, Gina, are we doing this shit between the people and the GOVERNMENT, right? And so it comes down to understanding that we have to have this opportunity. We have to take advantage so that way we do not have to be a part of this universal income that they're going to bring down the pipeline. Now, they're going to sell it to us just like they've already sold it to us now. And Leonard, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm coming to you. This part right here where you talked about in the taxes, like them taking off the taxes off of your account and whatnot. They already do that in our paychecks. So they're going to tell everybody that this is no different than the current system. We're just moving analog to digital and that nothing's going to change. We're going to just tax you like the federal rate on your, and then from there, you guys pay your taxes. Over time is where they're going to start cranking those regulations down. And then all of a sudden they're, every time you owe the IRS $1,000, they just go in and take it without even asking or without you saying, I'm giving up my money. So parking my scooter there. Leonard, back to you, my friend. What you got?
Thank you. Love what you're saying. I think that's a good decision with the Chevron ruling because the EPA has been weaponized, often invoking itself on climate change issues where it really should not have had any jurisdiction. But if they're now leaving it for Congress or the Supreme Court, if they become weaponized to strike up or strike down something that's unpopular, I don't see what's the difference. But I kind of like that they had the EPA stand down because they have been acting a little wonky lately these past couple of years. Two questions, though. The first one is, when we think about 15-minute cities, are we going to be able to make purchases in the metaverse that are beyond our 15-minute cities or within our 15-minute cities? That's something that comes to mind because they do want us sheltering in place permanently. And that's why this whole 15 minutes thing is in play, because they don't like us to be able to get on a plane and go to the other side of the world, put our feet up, because we have the resource to do that. You know, where they think we should all be clustered in one place and only the privileged can move around. The second question is, when I think about, go ahead, answer that one if you could, and then I might rephrase my second question.
All right. So to answer that question is just like now. We can literally go online and purchase anything from anywhere without us actually going there. So I don't believe that there's going to be an issue with you going onto Metaverse and purchasing things from around the world whatsoever, because you're still going to be in your same place, right? And you don't have to go anywhere to get that services. So that's how I see it. As
long as those services and goods can be delivered to where you're at, shelter in place,
then you should be good to go.
Yeah.
Okay. My second question is, has the metaverse, is there a business model where people can build metaverse spaces for other people? In other words, could I somehow say, okay, Home Depot, you want to go there, you want to get some mulch to, do your flower beds. Can I actually, since I'm good at the metaverse and I'm fast at building it out and I got a whole team, can I go do it for Home Depot and charge them for me building out their space? Is there a model built out for that yet?
You looking at it? That's what we do.
Okay.
That's what we do. We go to companies and organizations and we build out their metaverse space to showcase their business and their enterprise, and especially internal systems as well, with understanding that if you're utilizing Zoom in your business or your enterprise, you definitely should be pivoting over into the Web3 space. As I shared earlier, the headaches that Zoom comes alone with just people getting on it, knowing the actual, links and all that other craziness. Now you literally can make it a whole lot easier. So yes, and that's what we do in one of our worlds, where we have our storefront, our mall, and then we can actually build out individual worlds for different corporations as well.
Great, thanks for that answer. Now that deserves a follow-up. Is it lucrative enough to be a remote job? Meaning, can you say, hey, I need somebody extra on my team. We need you to focus on building this. We'd like you to have a skill set in this area. Because maybe some people are good in graphics and all that stuff, and some people are good at more detail. Just going out and take a picture so you can turn that into a 3D model and so forth, like you would be doing on SketchUp or something like that, with some of the tools you can pull in for architectural purposes.
Yes, to answer your question, absolutely. We have different businesses that we deal with that can build out 3D images and other additional things that we want to insert into our metaverse worlds. Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. And Nova, brother, I see you had came off mic. What question you got for us today?
Peace to the room. I wanted to touch in. I jumped in when I heard, I believe it was the gentleman who had just been speaking. He had made a statement about what he was comprehending from some of the things that were being stated earlier. And always will state, this is not financial advice. I'm no financial advisor. But one of the things that stuck out where I'm like, hey, let me come onto the stage really quick, is he mentioned that he was comprehending that this is meaning that Bitcoin is obsolete. And I want to tell the gentleman, for sure, that is not the case whatsoever. Everything that we were hearing as far as being a store of value and all of these things, what my research over time has said, absolutely true. But it is far from obsolete. There was a statement mentioned about kind of like the magic trick, look at one hand while I do something with the other hand. That's exactly what you see occurring through the news. And this is a play that's been done in financial industries forever. When we're looking at cryptocurrency, all of them are not decentralized, but that was the overall goal, to get the government out of your pocket, right? So you will see on the news, and with this being created by the people, big companies, big corporations, what they're doing is trying to catch up. So they're attempting to buy all of it back. But what smart investors know is you buy low and you sell high. So because they control the media outlets and so on, it's their job to go on and say, hey, Bitcoin's horrible, Bitcoin's going down. But what they're really doing is they want the average retail investor to sell. Oh my gosh, I bought Bitcoin at this amount. It went down. I got to sell it. Because what they're going to go do is do what people always do. They buy it pennies on the dollar. Last statement I'm going to make about this, my personal opinion, each Bitcoin, by the time we hit 2030, I believe a Bitcoin will be close to $1 million. I land.
Thank you so much, Nova, and I greatly appreciate looping back on that conversation because that's actually what I wanted to, jump back in on.
Yeah, Nova, you got to go on mic. I think
you got to go on mic.
That's okay. No worries. We got it. There we go. That way we won't have a negative. Sorry about
the
that.
only other thing I wanted to mention was when you look at all of these different cryptocurrencies out there, yes, there's a lot of scams. There's a lot of them. They're not the same. If you're speaking with someone who's like an engineer who develops this stuff, they might say something different. But way I like to do is sometimes when we're trying to learn something, we try to compare it to things that we kind of understand a little bit and see what's the word, it's kind of slip on my tongue, but it's where certain things align that allow you to understand it, right? And when you look at these different different blockchains, whether it is a Bitcoin, whether it's an Ethereum, it's a Polygon, it's an AVAX, and so on, a lot of the time what you want to understand is that these are different blockchains. And I try to say, like, it's like real estate, right? Location, location, location. So if I'm a developer, these different blockchains, I might be developing my company on, something that I do. What I would want to do is look at each blockchain and see what it offers, right? So example, Bitcoin, again, too slow, not enough transactions, but it's a great store of value. That's its utility, right? At this point, Ethereum, somebody might look at Ethereum and say, oh, you know what? They have all the pieces I need, i.e., I want to sell surfboards. I'm probably not going to go to Wisconsin, right? I'm probably going to look to, is there a space that I can purchase near Malibu, near Orange County in Southern California where there's beaches? So it's very similar when developers are choosing a blockchain, Ethereum, AVAX, and so on, to determine should they build their company on that blockchain. So last thing is when it comes down to leveraging crypto, it's very volatile, but you can also sometimes look at it like stocks, right? There's a lot of stocks out there, and sometimes you look at the stock and you say, hey, this is the name of that company. This is what they're gonna do. Do I believe in that? Do I want to invest in that? So again, this is Nova. I land. Thank you for the room. Ciao.
Thank you, Nova. Greatly appreciate you for sure. And those are absolutely great points and value added to the room. To loop back on the Bitcoin irrelevancy, thank you for bringing that back up because I absolutely wanted to touch on that as well. And, the irrelevancy, when Leonard was sharing about and saying essentially that it's irrelevant, I wanted to loop back on this because it's not irrelevant yet. And I essentially think that's what, you're saying as well. And yes, there is going to be a value that's going to be astronomical between now and 2030 on Bitcoin. However, what I share about Bitcoin and what from my research and from diving in and listening to conversations and looking at these different projects and protocols and blockchains is understanding, just like you said, what utility is it going to play in the future? And someone, I was listening to a conversation the other day, brought up a really great point, and I'll share it with you guys, is that a lot of these blockchains and cryptocurrencies, the company, the company that's created it, who you can go talk to or who the leadership of that company is. And Bitcoin is, you know, a lot of mysterious dealings behind the scenes of who actually owns it. Is it the 5 people? Is it one person? Is it a government agency that actually created it? And there's a lot of theories out there, but the problem is that there's so much mysteriousness about who owns it, who created it, who is the onerous rights to be, you know, that is not public information, and very little people know about it. And so because of that, if you have a problem with Bitcoin, who do you get a hold of? How do you take care of it? How do you get the resolution solved instead of these others like Solana or any of these others, Ethereum? You know who the creator was. You know who the company that owns it and is running it, or the entities that are running the project. You know that. You have recourse. And that's a big thing in the Bitcoin that a lot of people don't realize, that when these government officials are screaming from the rooftop that cryptocurrency is nefarious, it's used for nefarious reasons, it's on the black market, people are utilizing it for black market things. Well, let me just tell you, at the end of the day, they have to tell us what they're doing. But the way that they tell us is that it fools people, because they're not being told, like you stated, Nova, they're showcasing what they want on mainstream media for you to be a part of, for you to believe in, for you to buy into. So it allows them to pump the markets, and they can take the gains between those, you know, highs and lows. And so what comes down the pipe is that, you know, when there's people that scream, you know, that Bitcoin is used for, or not Bitcoin, but just cryptocurrencies in general are used for nefarious reasons. And then they say, well, Bitcoin's used for nefarious reasons, like it's, you know, for drugs and, you know, all of these things that are, you know, illegal. What a lot of people don't realize is that it is the USGOVERNMENT that is actually doing those deeds. What a lot of people don't realize is that the USGOV is who is behind Bitcoin and what that is propped up. The reason why, guys, and this is now getting into economics of this, is that how many of you realize that we should have had a real estate crash? We should have had a used car market crash that's now just finally upon us, that we're overinflated, that we've got all of this bubble that's happening that should have bursted already or popped by now. How many have realized that in our economic status? Most of us, because we're feeling it when we go to the grocery store through inflation. And so the problem that's going on right now is that our entire system is being propped up by Bitcoin. And at the end of the day, that is why when Nova shares, it's going to go to 500,000 or a million. Absolutely, at some point, because of the prop up, but it's not going to be long term. That prop up gain is going to look. These are the people that create the system. We're almost 35 trillion in debt. They're going to wipe our debt at some point and then put us back on a gold-backed standard system. Period. That's how it's going to be. And if you've done your research within the cryptocurrency market, you understand that what those utilities like Bitcoin, Ethereum, ISO 222, any of that family, the Solanas, any of these large top 20, top 30 cryptocurrencies is going to allow us to understand how they're going to rewire the system. And so right now, the mainstream market, the mainstream media absolutely wants you to be paying attention to Bitcoin. That's why the SEC is giving you a Bitcoin ETF and allowed BlackRock and all these other people to go out there after it. That is, by the way, BlackRock now owns the majority of Coinbase Exchange. There are strategic partnerships that are happening behind the scenes that are purposely being done. So when they make the switch, everybody is over here in one asset, like the baby boomers who have the largest traditional investment portfolios that are available right now, and is where the largest shift of generational wealth is coming from. When they shift that, they want that money over to be over in Bitcoin so they can allure the younger generations. But what is going to happen at the back end? It is all, like I said, and like Nova shared, it's all the shiny object of one side, so they don't see the back end. And that is why, yes, you see Bitcoin is at, you know what, today it was at, this morning it was at 59,000, 60,000 is where it was hovering. You know, will it be by the end of this year up around 100,000? Maybe if more, probably absolutely, because we're still coming into the time where inflation and interest rates have to drop. And once the interest rates drop, we're going to see cryptocurrency go parabolic. And so we have to understand that it's all cycles, it's all systems. And once we understand where they've connected the dots to and how they're moving behind the scenes, look, guys, at the end of the day, be diversified. Do not put all of your eggs into one area. Have yourself some over here in Bitcoin. Be over there in ETH. Be over there in Doge. Be over there in whatever your heart contents, because you're like, hey, I did some research. I like where that company's going. I like where that project's going. I'm putting $10 there. Do those things. Have yourself spread out. So when one moves and you make a profit off of that, you can roll that profit somewhere else and start rolling your profits into generational wealth. It's the understanding of how that movement's going to happen, and why, yeah, Bitcoin right now is not irrelevant, but it will be, because it is the Trojan horse. And most people don't realize that. And they put a lot of emphasis on it and don't realize what's really going on behind the scenes. And so I hope that, adds on in support of Nova's share. And I hope that answers Leonard's share on that. Mr. Jones, did you have any questions on that?
No, so that money that y'all asses are about to go to the store today and buy all the food and drinks and alcohol and all that other shit, and friends are gonna come over, eat up all your shit, and not, care about your business or help you out whatsoever. Cut back on 10% of that and go and find something to invest in, because it will set yourself apart, in the future. And I say that because Tara and I, when we did live in Houston, we did these $1,000 shindigs, of holding events at our house and, mowing the lawn, getting the mulch together, getting the patio together,
doing 3 days.
All of this stuff, together. And now that we have our business and we share with people, hey, this is what we do. Who? David and Tara, who? And so this is where we share with people, really be able to pick your head up out of the sand and start looking at some of these things to put yourself ahead, because I will continue to share financial literacy is caught, not taught. And I know if I knew some of the things that I knew now, or would have been paying attention as we do now, we would be further off than where we are now. Although for some of you that don't know, me and Tara are digital nomads, where we have the opportunity to travel the world. Right now, we're in Mexico. We just came from Colombia, and we're looking to move to another spot. And so we're not just talking these things out of our ass. We're talking these things because we're actually doing these things, and we're actually able to invest and be able to do some of the things that most people wish they could do, but they don't do it. And we're here to tell you, we were those people that didn't do the shit, that spent all this time on nonsense and with family and friends, and that don't care about you, when you really got to look at your own livelihood at the end of the day, especially when you go into this grocery store and you spending, a shit ton of money on food that used to be a little bit of nothing. And so invest. And that's why we want you guys to come and visit us in our Hello Plaza in Metaverse. As I was sharing earlier, that if you guys have not came and joined us in our Metaverse, that you can go to our Biz in a Box. That is an upgraded website, definitely better than a link tree, a 10K card. Let's update your foundation and get you into implementing these systems utilizing AI. We're prime example, Miss Roberta Pacino. She's able to showcase her entire business as being an amazing artist, where she can showcase her Etsy store. She can showcase her fine wall art. She can also have people come in Metaverse and book an appointment with her to learn more. She also is able to give away a free calendar for her or anything she wants to give away. She's also able to showcase her podcast. So instead of having people go to that boring, crusty, dusty, Spotify, she's now able to create a completely different experience. And this is something that we share with people. That prime example, if somebody wants to go and purchase something from her Etsy store, they literally hit this button that says discover more, and it goes right here to where they can go and learn more about her actual her business, and it takes them straight to her biz in a box, to where now you can see her biz in a box is attached to all of her social media, where we tell you guys and encourage you guys to be on more than just one social media. She's on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, right? Threads, YouTube, Pinterest. She has her YouTube on here. She has her home, to where now she has her Hello AI MotionWorks, to where you can play that. And that's an AI digital, MotionWorks that tells her story. She now can showcase all of her actual artwork, where it can go straight to her Etsy store. It then allows people to understand all that she does, and boom, right here, it goes right back to her actual storefront. So this is where we share with people. We pivot you from 2D to 3D and make it easy with our actual biz in a box, where everybody has this information. Instead of sending people to that old Spotify, people can come right into her actual biz in a box and go into her studio to watch the recording of her podcast. And then this literally gives everybody access to what she does, how she does it through our biz in a box. And this is our one app, one tap. So if you're looking for a way to upgrade your business and not have a hustle, and really have a business that can pivot you into the future, definitely check out our biz in a box. And if you guys want more information, book a free discovery call, and let's get you rocking and rolling with all this amazing new goodies that are coming up that we continue to share with you. We can help you, but the saving part is up to you. And that saving part is you opening up the 4 most expensive things, which is a closed mind, a closed mouth, a closed heart, and a closed hand. And that hand is investing into your business, and stop saying you have a hustle. So that's what I have to share.
Absolutely. And I wondered, while you're sharing on that point, I wanted to share where businesses, if you're a business owner, small business, large business, does not matter, where you can be taking advantage of, AKA cryptocurrency, in your business. You're going to want to start accepting cryptocurrencies, just like the young man that jumped in here into our conversation earlier and was like, it said something about, Doge is not a meme coin because you can buy a Ferrari with it. Look, I understand it has 2 categories. The reason I share this, that point, was because you can go out and apparently right now, not apparently, I know you can, I just, have not, you can go out and make a presidential contribution to a campaign via cryptocurrencies. You can go out and purchase a lot of things. You could go out and purchase any of the Hello LLC services through cryptocurrency. And so as a business, you want to set yourself up to accept it, be able to accept Bitcoin, Ethereum, multiple cryptocurrencies, Doge, any of these top 20 cryptocurrencies, hell, any cryptocurrency that you feel that you are passionate about, right? It comes down to the simple fact that as a business, you need to be able to accept any form of payment somebody wants to pay you in. And a lot of people right now, especially large entities, don't want to do this because there's not regulations. And this takes me into the next portion of this. Regulations are going to be here by 2025. Congress last month, I have to realize we're already in July. Last month, Congress started trying to get laws of just the conversation about regulations to come down the pipeline. And so that conversation has already started at a legislative level. And that means that they realize it's time to get on board. I shared last week that United States is not in the top 10 of countries that are utilizing cryptocurrencies or have cryptocurrency regulations. We are at the bottom of that list. And a lot of people are like, the United States falling behind. That's on purpose. I'm going to tell you right now, we are the most powerful country in the world, even though we have things that don't look like we are anymore because of the, maybe leadership or maybe our currency or maybe all of these things, these economical things that are moving and sliding. We are still the most dominant country in the world. That means power's not going to relinquish power. That means there's a secret agenda. There's a secret plan. When you play poker, you don't show everybody your cards. You keep your hand close to your chest. That is what's going on in the United States. But when regulations come around, it is really going to be too late as an investment opportunity of getting in before the masses know about it. You can still invest after it. I'm not saying that you're never going to be able to invest again, but the opportunity to get in at the price now versus what it's going to be. And you might be like, well, I'm thinking about crypto. I'm thinking about Bitcoin and it's hovering around 60,000 today, Tara. That doesn't seem like chump change. Well, it's not, but there's some out there that are very, very much under $1 for their coin or their token that actually provide true utility to the system that will be reevaluated over the next 3 to 5 years that could turn it into overtaking Bitcoin's first position as being the top cryptocurrency. So I share that with you guys because the amount of research that you have and the amount of research that we do as a community, come back and share this information and share how this comes. You have to really just understand that as we're making these movements and regulations come down the pipeline, it's going to be a good thing. It's going to also it's going to be a double-edged sword. And that I wanted to share when Leonard was sharing that earlier about, the Chevron overruling and how that's like a double-edged, it's not even a double-edged sword. That's kind of good. It's good on some points and it's not so good on other points. It's going to be a double-edged sword because right now we have a lot of people overreaching their authority and, like the SEC, they're overreaching some authority and they're really, kind of getting themselves in trouble, like the EPA and things like that. But it also could take a reverse effect if we get on the other side of that, right? And like you said, if legislation or Congress gets weaponized. And so again, this is the more information we know as a community and we talk about this openly so we can learn and we can all strategize that what works best for us and our situations allows the majority, as we know, when we the people come together, we're a lot stronger than what that is, but we have to come back to community, which is why yesterday we had that conversation. But I wanted to welcome up Miss Joyce. Thanks for being here. Do you want to jump in on this conversation, lovely?
Well, I can. Hey, everybody. I'm still new to the metaverse. I'm actually in there now, but I'm kind of multitasking on your Hello Plaza Live podcast. It is so dope. And just a little feedback. When I was a little kid, I would always do virtual, like we got all the games that we used to play. And it's just so interesting that we're right back there again. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So you're in the Getting Naked studio or are you in the Hello Plaza?
Yeah, I think it says Getting Naked podcast. And then it says one person, me online. And I'm sitting down right here in the Hello Plaza. I'm not sure. It says Unstoppable.
Yep, you're in our.
I got my little avatar here.
Yep, you're in our Getting Naked podcast room that you guys can go and listen to now, and even you guys can join us this Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and be a part of our live podcast. Where this week our conversation is going to be stop being hard-headed and don't be a blockhead. Where we're going to be talking about family. We're going to be talking about friends. If you guys haven't listened to our podcast, I highly encourage you to go listen to it. We just came out with our season 3, episode 1. We have well over 60 podcasts now, which is why we share with you guys about having your own podcast and how to build your brand, how to build your marketing, how to be able to monetize your business through a podcast that can excel you in all areas. And most people hear us talk about it. Now we're starting to hear other people talk about it. We've been talking about it for 5-6 years now. And this is what we share with you guys. If we're talking about it, we're doing it. We've been doing it, and we're going to continue to do it as long as you start doing it as well, especially with Miss Joyce being one of our pivot members as well, of being able to really, tap into all this amazing information, especially as we start to learn more about this crypto. If you guys don't know, in that pivot membership, Tara has a whole entire section on this cryptocurrency, on this pivot, on the fintech, just facts and stats that you all should be aware of, because just imagine this. Just imagine if you didn't know what a website is, if you didn't know what a actual, a URL was, if you didn't know anything about Amazon or Google, how far behind would you be? And not only that, how far in advance would you have been in your business if you did start utilizing the internet as you should have when it first came out? Imagine if you had utilized Facebook when it first came out, if you had used YouTube, if you had been one of the first TikTok people, if you had been, on these social audio apps, how much of an advantage would it have given you to utilize these tools to take your business globally? And that's why we talk about this crypto. That's why we're talking about this Web3. That's why we talk about this metaverse. That's why we continue to talk about AI and robotics. And so greatly appreciate you joining us and being part of this conversation. Was there anything in particular, Ms. Joyce, that you want to ask us about on crypto or fintech, anything of that sort? Let's go. Or anybody.
I'm so novice. I'm so new at it. I don't have any questions, but I will. I know I will.
Got to get in there and push buttons, as they say, right? Which is what you're doing. Thank you so much for jumping in there and checking out our Getting Naked podcast. Again, we're bringing another one this Friday. And, we talk about how it'll be, don't be a blockhead, and how people and business relations, like business entities and how business rolls and how you deal with things, of the WTF moments in business. But I'm sure we'll talk about everything from under A to Z like we normally do. So jump in there and share. Come visit us on Friday, guys, if you want to. But with that stated, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So right in the same spot where you're at, Miss Joyce, is where it'll be live. And if you're there live, then you can absolutely be a part of the conversation, share anything that you want to, or ask any questions. That's the joy of being a part of live conversation. But I did want to share this on the cryptocurrency side of this, guys. We've thrown a lot of information at you today. If this is the first time that you're kind of plugged into the crypto conversation, I just invite you guys to just get curious because you're going to utilize cryptocurrency in some shape, form, or fashion in the future. And like Leonard was sharing, is it going to be forced, or is it going to be our own will? Well, it's going to be your choice. And the action you need to take is now. You don't need to wait till the masses, they bring it to the masses. And now they're talking about it. And now the regulations are all here. If you're waiting to that point, then you're going to be more on the forced side, where they regulate you more, where they have more access and control. They're going to get a piece of your money down. Yeah. And, our goal and our point of why we're sharing this is because we are taking steps and actions daily, and weekly and monthly, to make sure that we are not in the forced portion of this community, and that we will be, the ability to have what we want to have and be able to move around how we want to move around. And this opportunity is available for everyone. But because I'll share this, because the mass media is not talking about it, because they're not, the nightly news is not telling you to go out and buy your cryptocurrency so you get your generational wealth. They're not telling you that. So the majority of people don't listen because they have been fooled. And I hate to say this, they've been fooled into believing what they want them to believe, what the GOV wants them to, believe in their, agenda here. And so I try to be as cryptic as I can. I'm sorry, because I don't want to be on someone's list. I'm sure I'm already on someone's list, because boy, if you listen to my telephone calls with my mom or my brother, they get pretty deep and conversated. And I'm sure we all know those conversations are being listened to too. So I'm already on the shit list, as they would say. But it comes down to the simple fact, guys, that, our opportunity is here. And we have to work together. If you don't know, ask questions. Don't feel silly that you're like, anybody that you might be a novice or junior in this, don't feel silly for asking questions, because David too, was at this point where we didn't know these questions, and we would be a part of these rooms, and they would be talking about stuff that would be way over my head, and I didn't understand the basics, right? And so when regulations does come down the pipeline, right now we have over 22,000 cryptocurrency coins and tokens in circulation, that number is going to go drastically down, because once rules and regulations come down the pipeline, they're going to have to meet a certain standard, and sometimes that standard is hard to meet if they don't have the capital backing to make those changes. And so it's, as they say, it's a gamble. But if you've done your research and you understand how the system's moving and where it's moving to, the gamble is not such a gamble. It's more of a written on the wall. But again, they can't tell you about this because it would allow everybody in there, and then they wouldn't be able to control the masses as they do right now. And so these conversations that we're having here, the reason why you don't see 1 million people in here is because they might label what I'm sharing as theories, or some of them would even consider them maybe conspiracy theories or things like that, and it goes against what they believe from the standard kind of standardization that they've led us to believe, or the agendas that they've led us to believe. And I will tell you guys, 10-15 years ago, I fell in those same sorts. I've always been an outside the box kind of thinker, but oh no, they're not talking about that on mainstream media, so it's not true. And what I realized through my discovery of fintech, cryptocurrency, blockchains, projects, all of this, Web3, is that holy sheep shit, we've all been fed a bunch of lies. And wow, what happens when we really start kind of, I don't want to say wake up, but wake up when we kind of start thinking for ourselves and say 1 + 1 is not equaling 2 to us, guys. You're coming up with 3, and we know it's 2. And why can't you get to 2? And they keep on trying to tell you, oh no, it's 2. You're dyslexic. You can't see it. And they try to make us as a community, as a society, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and think we're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And in reality, no, you're spot on. And that's why people end up DEAD, because, they've gotten too spot on and now they're too vocal about it. And so it's really something now that we're seeing the shift over the next 5 years, and sooner than that you're going to start seeing more people wake up and say, no, that I'm not believing that BS on the MSM, meaning mainstream media. I'm not believing that shit. I'm going to go start having these conversations in my community because they're making sense. This makes sense. This is actually impacting me. And when we start getting to that level and start communicating like a community that we are here, it allows us to be wiser. And the wiser we are, then we get to play up there with the 1% and change the rules. And so I just appreciate everybody's value that they shared today, because it really does. The questions help. The value that other people bring in from what they've learned, helps, because they're saying it differently. And their words might land differently. That makes sense versus what I said or David said. Mr. Jones?
So, Ms. Joyce, you're in our metaverse world and you're on your laptop. And so the great thing is you don't need to use the arrow buttons on your laptop, the forward, backwards, side to side. You literally have a guide that you use. The W goes forward, S goes back, and then the D and A go right and left, depending on where you are. You then also can take your cursor, right? If you have one of those rolling mouses, it'll allow you to zoom in and out of the actual image. And I see that you got your camera on, where you also can showcase your camera. You were in the chat with us as well. And so this is where we share with you guys, literally that this metaverse takes it to a whole new world. And Miss Joyce, if you could share with the people, because a lot of the times we get, oh my God, it's so hard. I don't know what to do. I don't know this. I don't know that. How easy was it for you to jump into the metaverse, especially going from our biz in a box?
Well, as I mentioned, I was familiar with this virtual, with all the gaming that I came from. So it's really similar to gaming. So if you've done any type of virtual, it won't be as hard, but it was simple. It's a piece of cake. It's just learning like you mentioned, the tools on your computer or whatever device you're using.
Yep, straight up. And look, on the Getting Naked show, I would tell people, your ass ain't reading, because it literally gives you a guide of what buttons to press and how to go and facilitate from your computer. Yeah, that guide that you just skip over when people first get in. They give you a guide to tell you to use the W, the S, the A, the D to, and then also, Miss Joyce, if you want to dance like I did, you hit the T button on your actual laptop, and it brings up a menu bar at the bottom where you can pick from different dance moves and things of that sort. You hit the T again, and so there you go. Boom. And so this is what we share with people. It's not getting in your own way. So often we get in our own way when it comes down to this new technology because of the old mentality and the programs that run. When it comes to this, and because I'm not good at technology. Oh, that's not my cup of tea. Oh, that's for the kids. Or we get anxious and we're like, ooh, I'm not going to know how to do this. And look, I say that because I was that person. Anytime that somebody brought some new technology to me or change this or do that, I literally was having this conversation with myself earlier when Tara was having this conversation about crypto, that most people are not going to be willing to make this pivot because it's something new, because it's something unknown. And just like they did with the dishwasher, just like they did when cars came around, just like they did with the internet, people doubt it or they don't know and they fear it. And then they continue to get stuck with the same things. And then before you know it, here comes this thing called technical debt. Here comes this thing called you're forced to do shit. And then just like you're showing up to a networking event or you going to like a flea market, and the flea market opens up at 10 o'clock and you as a business owner, your ass gets there at 11:30 and you're setting up shop when the flea market's open and the people that were there beforehand prepared, right, with their shop all set up. Now they're getting all the customers because they're able to pay attention and say, hi, how you doing? Do all of these things. And this is a great analogy that I want you all to be aware of where you at going to this flea market. Is your ass in the car rushing to get there 5 minutes beforehand, trying to set up the cart, trying to get the sweat off your face, trying to cool down, all this other stuff? Where you're at in that, because those that get there early, as they say, the early worm gets the bird, right? Or the early bird gets the worm. And so somebody gets something if your ass is there early. You get what I'm saying. And so this is where we encourage you guys to really be
This is like David and his mom when they show up 2 hours before the fishing boat takes off.
Yeah.
Because they want the front position.
Yeah.
And they want to make sure they got the prime fishing spots, the best table inside.
Yeah.
And they got all their bait. Let me tell you.
That part, right? And you all have something in particular that you are Johnny on the spot for. You're Johnny
2
on the
hours
spot.
because you want to get out to the driving range
Yep.
and get warmed up. It's I don't, because I waste my good swings out on the driving range.
Yeah. And so this is where you all have to be preventative with this. But I mean, if anybody has any other questions or anything of that sort, please answer away, ask in the chat. We want you guys to really, ask away, because this is very important that you guys come up on stage, ask these questions, or even put in your own 2 cents if you have anything.
We hope that this conversation today has been very valuable about that. That's why I've been having more and more of them, because we are in the times now where people need to understand how they can, as we did a room the other day, become their own bank, because it really, yes, these conversations are pretty much the same thing, because once you understand, like Leonard was saying, we've got 2 directions. You got 2 options. When we go down this pipe, we are going down this water slide. You can take Route A, which is the force through CBDC, where, they're governing everything and all of that BS, or you can create that choice on Route B to where you do not have to abide by that system, because you have your own system. You are a part of the bigger system. You are the elite. So that way you can change the system below that for everybody. And so it is, at the end of the day, there's so many conversations around this that you can tap into. I just encourage everybody to make sure they're tapping into conversations that are not asking them to buy this cryptocurrency or, get a part of, our day trading program. If you don't understand day trading, just be careful, because there are a lot of opportunity out there for people to, take advantage of you. And what would that be? Just don't be giving anybody do it yourself. Go out to the crypto exchange and buy yourself. Buy your stuff yourself. It's like going to the grocery store yourself. David in his dance mood. Make sure you're going to the grocery store yourself, buying your groceries. You know, you go to the jewelry store, you want to buy a diamond or, you know, some gold or whatever it is, necklace. Go do that yourself. Get that, pay for that, then bring it home and put it in your safe keep. Do it yourself. That's how you can make sure that you're not getting taken advantage of and you're not buying into someone's system. We're just again, yes, we have our Pivot membership, which is not just cryptocurrency. It's about, you know, marketing, gamified marketing, gamification marketing. It's Web3 services, Web2 services, you know, all of that strategy and that business. But we also have a fintech side that we help people that want to ask us questions, but we are not, you know, at the end of the day, that's not what we hone in on, because there is a lot of volatility in there. And when you're talking about volatility with people and their money, then there's a lot of legalities in there. And so this conversation today was just provided to you guys as an open entertainment only purposes, and, you know, sharing with you guys what we're doing. And at the end of the day, you can get curious or not, and that's going to be your choice. And that's the beautiful thing about this world. So as we wrap up, does anybody want to ask any final questions as we wrap up this amazing room? I love it. Well, we'll be back Friday with our Getting Naked podcast. If you missed the first episode, it is up now. You can watch it in our Getting Naked room, and or you can watch it, go to our Business in a Box at thehellllc.io, the THE hello, HELLO, llc.io. And when you go there, you can scroll down, you can see where to go into our Getting Naked room or into our metaverse and to listen to our podcast as well. And so we'll be back Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And next week, we'll be back with Tuesday at 4:30 Eastern, Wednesday, 4:30 Eastern, and Thursday at 6:30 Eastern. All conversations around to build value, provide you guys value and information that will allow you to be living a better life, helping everyone live life optimally. So with that said, Mr. Jones, ready to wrap this up?
Yeah.
Love it. You know what the drill is.
So,
Love,
kindness,
and integrity.
but most importantly,
commitment
and consistency.
Until next time.
Totals.
Bye, y'all. See you Friday. Oh, happy 4th of July to everybody as well. Have a safe one and be
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Leonard.
Talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
Thanks, Miss Joyce. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Maximum. Love it. Thanks, Renee, when she was in here.